Hey y'all, hey, it's another episode of Bonafide podcast featuring the one and only Chris Singleton. Beep, 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 beep.
I love it. That's awesome.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
You know we're blessed to be alive another day, another blessing. Just
Absolutely.
yes, sir. So let's get started. So, Mr. Chris, can you tell us your sports story to how you got to where you are?
Yeah, so I played baseball. That was my sport, right? I actually played all sports growing up. I played baseball, basketball, football. I even think I played a little soccer when I was a little kid. But there were two sports that stuck with me. It was baseball and it was basketball. And so I played, both through middle school and high school. And by the time I was in like eighth grade, I knew baseball was my real sport. And I started to get recruited, played college at a mid-major Division One, and then after that, I got drafted by the Cubs, Chicago Cubs, and so played a couple years with the Cubs in the minor leagues, chasing the dream. And then after I got done playing, I just started coaching my little man. I got a son who's playing now, and so
Oh,
I still stay around the sport, and I love it, man. Baseball's done a lot for me, and so I love to get back to the sport.
that's what's up. Oh, is that? Oh, you teaching? Oh man, it's like it just like passes down, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I got two boys. So my 8 year old is playing. He's playing 9U, and then my 4 year old about to start t-ball. So I'm about to start that with my little dude. So I love it. It's full circle because yeah, I actually remember some times when I was like 8 playing, and so it's just full circle.
That's what's up. And you know, and correct me if I'm wrong. Charleston Southern, right? This
Mhm.
college you went to.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's interesting because a lot of people like to downplay mid-major competition, but from your experience, being playing at the mid-major competition, what would you say are some of the misconceptions of mid-major competition?
That's a great question. I think nowadays we can go sport by sport because when all the best players in mid major, they could be good players in high major, right? In Power Five or Power Six or wherever you want to call it. And so let's say I give you an example. There's a player from East Tennessee State University, played basketball. He just transferred to go play at University of Washington. So he went from mid major to a high major school. Or you got a guy that's like myself that I played at a mid major Charleston Southern, and I could have easily played my junior season, senior season at like a South Carolina, at a Louisville, a Miami, or school like that, but I wouldn't have probably got the opportunity to start as a freshman. And so that's the biggest thing for good players that go to mid major route. They're going to be able to start immediately. Whereas sometimes if if I would have gone to, Chapel Hill, University of North Carolina, immediately out of high school, I probably wouldn't be able to start my freshman season. And so I think that's probably the biggest difference as far as like actually players that are good mid major players. There are some guys that play mid major that probably wouldn't even be good, uh, in junior college. Probably, I mean, there's just some guys that just kind of make it off of their being 6'5", and being looking the part, and so that happens. But for the most part, I mean, you even got D2 players that are just unbelievable, and you look up, you see the college basketball now, all the recruiting stuff. It's like, or all the transfer stuff. It's like a guy that was a D2 All American messes around and plays at a high major school, and they're like, "Where does this guy come from?" Well, he's the best player in the nation in D2, so you know he's going to be a good D1 athlete too if he's the best in the nation. So it just depends on where your skill level is at. But if you're good, you can play with anybody.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's just interesting how a lot of people like to downplay mid major. Because I came from a mid major college in the CAA, so like it's interesting because it's just. But you have a great point because a person from D2 can great at D2 and they come and transfer to D1. Everybody's like, where'd they come from? So that is a great point because like, man, that because it's almost like the high expectations for a lot of people's dream is to go like power one, like a high powered five school. But sometimes people don't make that. But it's like, but if you get recruited by whether it's mid major or NAIA D2 D3, it's like that's still an opportunity that you're getting to play. So,
Yeah, and I'll give you a perfect
but
example. One of my buddies, man, I
um,
played with in college, his name is Chaz McCormick, and he went to D2 school. I don't even know what D2 school was called. Like it was kind of in the middle of nowhere, small school, but I think they were good. And I know he was really good. And so we played summer ball together. We both played outfield, and he's had the best professional career out of anybody that I know. And he came from a small D2 school, I think, in like in the up north somewhere, right? And usually when you think baseball, you think down south, or you think West Coast, or you think like LSU or Vandy, or schools like that. He came from a middle of nowhere D2 school, and now he's tearing it up and playing the World Series. I mean, he's a real deal. So it doesn't really matter where you start; it's how you finish.
absolutely. And, leads to my question to like, you know, going from college to transitioning to the pros, what was that like to go from, college to the Chicago Cubs?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference is you have to take more accountability for your own body, your own work ethic. In college, you're kind of everybody's forced to do X, Y, and Z. They're forced to do it because it's a team thing. Hey, all the outfielders, all the position players, all the whatever are going to do this. And then in professionally, you're like, hey, you kind of have your own thing that you do, like my own routine that I do to get ready, right? My own strength and conditioning program. Even though we may have one with the team, everybody has their own thing that like works for their body because it's a long season. You're playing double the amount of games that you played in college, and so that could be daunting for a lot of people because I'm a skinny dude, right? I've always tried to put on weight. I've always been training to lift weights and be heavy, and I get up to 185, about 190. I lose 15, 20 pounds throughout the season. And so, like, being able to just take care of your body throughout a very long season is important. And that's probably another big difference. The talent is also, light years above what you played in college. But I would always say, like, the best players that you play against in college is what you're seeing every single day when you're playing professionally. Like, you're the best of the best. So you're all going to be good. It's just who's better that day.
That is an interesting take for sure because, you know, it's almost as, like you say, every player you played against in college is the players you're going to play against in the pros. Like, it's almost as you see them every time and you know what, like, their skill level is or what their skill set, but also, like, you may know, like, their left hand, they can't really hit with their right hand. Or it's just, I'm here for it. I'm
Yeah.
here for it to learning about that
Yeah,
because
and it's like the game within the game. Like, let's say, um, I'll give a baseball analogy, and then I'll give a basketball analogy. I love you. I know you love basketball, so
I've been around it. So,
so in baseball, it's like, hey, we know this pitcher's good, this hitter's good. Who's gonna win this specific matchup right now? Right? Who's gonna make the first mistake? Okay, in basketball, it's like everybody would have been, you know, a great player at their school, their university. Everybody's a conference player of the year that's playing professionally, right? And
mhm.
so since they're so good, like let's say you're playing in Europe or you're playing somewhere in a good European league, everybody's gonna be great. Everybody's gonna be able to shoot it, they're gonna be able to jump, they're gonna be able to score it. Who can do the little things? Who can fight over screens better, right? Who can communicate better, help side defense, right? Who's doing the little things better than they were doing in college? Because you need to at the next level. Um, everybody's gonna be able to make wide open shots. All these different things that you think you're good for being able to do. Everybody can do them. So what makes you stand out at the next level? And you got to figure out what that is.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's interesting because I always saw you as somebody, and you were the epitomizing of, the phrase, more than an athlete, because just seeing from your journey, like, just, man, just like when people say more than an athlete, I said, that is, you want to know who's more than, like, Chris Singleton is like the definition, just because, first of all, I just want to say shout out to you, sir, just from your journey and seeing you, what you are doing. And I just want to say, very proud of you and congratulations for you, sir, for real. So,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
and this leads to my question. And I was gonna say like you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but my question for you is, and one of the biggest things that really stuck out is you know the most famous quote, and it sticks like really hit home, is you always say that love is stronger than hate. You know, can you explain like what that phrase meant to you?
Absolutely. And the reason why I said it is because 10 years ago is when my life became more than just an athlete, right? So 10 years ago, I was playing baseball in college, like everybody else on my team and across the nation. But I experienced a tragedy like no other because 10 years ago, I lost my mother in a racially motivated mass shooting at my church, Mother Emanuel, in Charleston, South Carolina. And after my mother was killed, I forgave my mother's killer. And I said, love is always stronger than hate. So we just love the way my mom would. The hate won't be anywhere close to where love is. And I said that just from my heart. It was placed on my heart. I think that it was a higher power that placed it on my heart. And I know why now, right? Our city came together, our community came together. We locked arms. We said that's disgusting. Anybody that judges somebody, that makes fun of somebody, that humiliates somebody, that takes somebody's life based on a chemical in their skin that makes them the color that they are, is disgusting. And we came together, and I feel like whether it's sports, whether it's life, you're not going to get anywhere just being uh, with people hating you, right? And some people have like the fear leadership model, right, where they want people to fear them. You want your opponents to fear you. You want your teammates and people around you to love you, right? To have your back. And so that's why I always think love is important. Leading by example, loving each other. Those are the best teams. When you break it down in the huddle, y'all break it down. You say family on three, 1, 2, 3, family, and everybody's hanging out. They're spending time together. So just loving each other is my mission, and it all stemmed from when I lost my mom. I told my mom I can't bring you back. What I can do is I can be the opposite of your killer, though. This guy's mission was division, and my mission is unity. So that's why I always say that love is stronger than hate.
And it is so real because like you said, like that forgiveness, like a lot of things, and correct me if I'm wrong, like a lot of things when something tragedy happens or anything that happens, say directly to us, like it's so easy to like really like get so angry and hate on somebody so that like, and then it leads to like say the grudging, and in the Bible it says you know, be quick to listen, slow to anger, slow to speak, you know, and forgiveness. And like I said, correct me if I'm wrong. Forgiveness is one of those things that's so hard to like in ways to like, man, how do I forgive someone, especially if they like did something like this? So,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think forgiveness is hard because it's something you got to do that's selfless, right? Because a lot of times we do stuff to benefit us. If I work out, I want to see results. If I'm eating healthy, I want to see results. If I'm treating my wife amazing, I want her to treat me amazing, right? I think we always want something reciprocal for things, right? We want something back, and in our if we're training every single day, we want to see that we're going to knock that shot down in the game. And so
hmm
like we always think, hey, what's in it for me? And forgiveness is like releasing that, right? I'm releasing uh the fact that I have to get something from this. I will say that forgiveness does give you freedom though. It gives you freedom from holding a grudge and constantly trying to get back at somebody, or forgiving yourself, because sometimes we mess up and we hold a grudge with ourselves. Like, I can't believe you did that. Why did you do that? And forgiveness is moving forward. And so I think that's what forgiveness has done for me in my life. And it doesn't mean that I'm not mad about what happened. I'm still mad to this day. I'm upset that my mom's not here anymore. Um, I'm just not gonna be angry to the point where I'm trying to get back at the person that did it. Right? The guy's is in prison right now, and I consume my life if I was trying to get back at him and do this and that. And that's not where I am. I'm upset about what happened to my mom, and that's what fuels my mission today.
absolutely, man, because like I said, that phrase just literally hits home. It's like it is stronger. Love is always stronger than hate. The it even says it in multiple times in the Bible. And And this leads to my question, do you believe that, with your purpose, what you're doing right now, do you believe with, you know, with what you went through during college with the the shooting, and also, do you feel like that adversity helped you become the person that you are right now?
Yeah, great question. I'd say 100%. Without what I went through happening to me or for me, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I had to grow up early. I lost both of my parents pretty young, and so, at 21, I started raising my little brother and sister, and they were teenagers, didn't know what I was doing, but I had to grow up quick and try to figure it out. And you don't grow up that quick unless you have to,
Hmm.
right? I hope and pray that my kids, my two sons and my baby girl, they don't have to grow up as quick as I did. I hope that I can see 50 because my parents didn't. And so there's always things that you go through in life that shapes you as a human being. And losing my mom, losing my dad, going through all that I've gone through in my life, it definitely shaped me to be the person that I am today. And I think the blessing in that is that now I can teach this perspective to others, right? And so the perspective is not that we won't go through tough stuff, because we all will, but how do we respond to it? What is our next move when we feel like our back is against the wall? When we get knocked down, do we stay down or do we get up? And so, like, learning these different things that I've learned through experiencing this adversity is what shaped me to be Chris Singleton today.
For sure, because like I said, it's just like it's you have 3 kids. I just realized you said 2 sons and a baby girl.
Yeah, I got an 8, 4, and 2-year-old.
Oh man, time went by fast.
Yeah, no doubt. We got busy young. My wife and I, we got busy young. So we got 3 babies.
So, and it leads to my question, you know, the transition from being an athlete to fatherhood, and also now an motivational speaker, you know, what was that like to just being able to experience all those, aspects of life?
Yeah, the other day I was thinking about my last year playing professionally and how my son actually got to see me play. He was a baby, but I remember looking out in the stands and seeing him had like his little ball cap on, and I remember like tearing up, like in the dugout, just like crying like a little baby. Man, I was like, my son's watching me play. This is so cool. And I think every dad or every parent has this, even in WNBA now, people, who they have kids and their moms, and they literally birth these kids and they can see their mom play on the court. Like, that's dope to me. And so me experiencing that was super cool. And then transitioning to speaking, like I was already speaking in the off season, but I wasn't speaking like professionally. I'd just say, hey, I want to share my testimony. I'll share it with youth groups. I'll share my faith. I'll share my story of overcoming. Like, I'll share it with teams. I don't care. I'll just share it. And I didn't know it was a real career until people started saying, well, how much do you charge? I'm like, I don't know. Whatever you got. Right. And then it just progressed to be a career of mine. And so now, I probably do anywhere from 70 to 100 events a year. I'm usually on the road about 100 days out of the year. And it's a message of resilience, a message of love, of unity. I do a lot of schools where I make schools a united school. And I've loved it. My family, they allow me to do it, because I do have 3 kids. And so my wife has to be aligned with me in that mission. And so she is. And I enjoy it. I enjoy that. I enjoy being home too. Like, I had my last engagement of 2025 uh, yesterday. And so that was like my last gig of the year. So now I'm home for the rest of the month of December and just spending that quality time and uh, you know, time much needed with family to end the year. So it's been good. I can't complain. I will say it has been harder the last year with different leadership changes, because my mission is about love and unity and talk about things that sometimes right now aren't really talked about a whole lot. And so that part's been a little tougher this year, but because I love this mission and I love the message that I have, I'm going to keep sharing it.
Absolutely. So yesterday was your last engagement of anything till the next year?
Yep,
Oh, so yep. So December, the rest of December is like family time. That's
exactly.
just family time. I'm
Exactly.
here. I'm here. Look now. I'm just honored I got a chance to get the opportunity to like like I said, interview someone that you know that had their story. Like, it's interesting because both of our stories were like, I remember watching your story on E60, and I had a story on E60. So I was like, well, this is like I'm here for it. Like it's, but I think what it is, like I said, what it is though is when you see someone's story that's just so impactful, you just it's just I feel like for me, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think one of the most important things is inspiration, especially like when you provide somebody the hope to keep going in what they love to do, whether it's in sport or whether it's outside of sport. So, so that's all I. It's just, but it also leads to my question is, you know, as as a father, as a black father, a black man, and an athlete, how important is mental health to you?
Mental health is so important. I actually just gave a talk about this because a lot of times in sports, we say that our sport is our getaway, right? We always say it's our escape. And so when you're not playing anymore, like what do you do? You know? And so a lot of people, if they're lost, they don't know what to do. And so for me, there's a saying that says you either uh, make time for your mental health now, or you'll be forced to make time for your mental illness later. And so
Mm.
you need to be making sure you're sharpening your axe, your mind, talking to somebody, because most of the time we keep everything in. In 2018, I actually started seeing a licensed therapist, and I sat down with her and I just told her about my life. And one thing I learned about myself is I thought that being strong meant pretending a lot. And so after that year of therapy that I went through, I realized that being strong is being true and being real, and not pretending that you're somebody that you're not pretending that you never get hurt, not pretending that nothing hurt, like, affects you. Because if you lose a parent, you lose two parents in a couple, like, everybody's going to be affected, right? Everybody's going to be hurt by that. And so don't pretend that you're not hurt. You are. It's okay. And strength is shown in being real and showing emotion. So all these different things that I had to learn as a young man helped me to be the man that I am today, where I can talk to my boys about being emotional, that I talk to people.
Oh, um, your screen went black, Chris. It went. It went. It went blank. The screen went blank, sir. Um, have a technical. It's all good, y'all. Um, let's see if you want to. T- oh, there. We got it. Just a minor technical difficulty, y'all. He'll be back though, but thank you guys for tuning in for real so far. Um, definitely appreciate it. Um, so yeah, so he'll definitely be back for sure. Um, if you've been enjoying, thank you guys. And big shout out to Chris for sharing his story and getting the opportunity, getting the chance to share his story. Um, so um, he'll definitely be back, y'all, for sure. Um, so and it's definitely appreciated for real. It's definitely appreciated. So if you've been enjoying the live, the episode of 189, be sure to share it, like the live, everything. So, but it's definitely appreciated so far. Hey,
Hey, sorry about that.
it's
They're
all
like,
good.
I guess my power flashed, and so my computer literally just shut off.
Oh man.
It's it's raining out here, so
Oh, I meant to tell you. I will say this podcast is raw, real. We have blooper moments. So
no
this
worries.
this makes it makes. I always say anything like this stuff is like it makes So this is why it makes my podcast just more enjoyable, more just authentic. Like
For
things
sure.
like this happens. I don't sugarcoat anything or anything. I was like, it's live. It's like this. It's all good, but it's worth it. So I'm here for it. So um, but yeah, but I wanted to ask you this. From a man's perspective, why do you believe it is hard for a man to open up about mental health?
Yeah, I think it's hard because we think that strength is something that is not, right? We think strength is not crying. We think strength is, uh, you know, we're supposed to be the providers and protectors of our family, and so we think we can't protect if we show that we're hurt. And so those are things that I believe the enemy wants us to kind of force into our brains so that we can harbor all the pain and never let it out until it's too late and we do something to harm ourselves or we harm people that we love. And when we realize what real strength is not sh- real strength is this in my mind, showing that you're hurt, showing that it sucks, that it's hard, but showing that you're not going to stay there.
Mm,
That's what real strength is, showing that you're not going to stay down after you've been hurt, after life kicks you, after you need to let it all out and just cry and be real. Real strength is saying, hey, yes, it sucks, but I'm not going to stay in this situation. I'm going to get my family out of this. I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to put myself first to make sure that I'm healthy. I'm going to, like all these different things are what strength are. And strength is not pretending, though. And I learned that through therapy myself. So that's probably why men, especially black men, we harbor a lot of things.
because I always want to always hear from the input of a man, like the importance of mental health and just you know in the Bible it says and correct me if I'm wrong too, like in the Bible it says Jesus wept, like even the strongest man alive who died for our sins wept. The strongest man alive. So, I think, you know, that's I definitely see what you're saying. Like the is do you feel like how are how what advice would you say to the men out there that want to open up but are afraid because they're afraid to be judged?
Yeah, I would say either you have a group of guys that you can go to, right? I have some best friends that I talk openly about everything with. We've shared our mental health journey. We've shared when things are going great, when things are really hard. But also seeing somebody that this is what they do for a living. Sometimes it's good to get a different perspective, right? And so we think, hey, going to a therapist is weird because they're gonna say we crazy or they're gonna say this or that. That's not the case, right? They're gonna help you move forward and address some trauma that you've had, built up over the years. And a lot of times they help you be the man that you're supposed to be. And it's hard
Hmm.
to get to be that person when you haven't addressed certain things in your life. Or maybe they allow you to express an emotion that you usually don't feel comfortable expressing that emotion around anybody else. And so there's so many benefits to it. But more than anything, in my opinion, it helps you become the man that you're supposed to be by addressing things that you haven't addressed.
For sure. And you know, you're really big in your faith, and at least my question is, especially at a young age, how are you able to balance both athletics and your faith all at once?
Yeah, I think I was lucky because the Bible says, "Raise a child up in the way he should go. When he grows old, he won't depart from it." Meaning, like parents, when you raising your children, raise them to be, uh, you know, godly. Raise them to be believers. Raise them to know that they're a child of God. Like to know that they're loved. And so, like all these different things, I was lucky to have a mom that did that for me. I think there's a time period though where I feel like I was in church. I was going to church and doing that because I was forced to. My mom was like, "Boy, you going to church? You ain't got no choice, right?" And so I was still wilding out. I was doing whatever I wanted to do, but I was going to church because I was supposed to. My mom was making me. And then finally, I had that personal relationship after my mom was killed. And so when she was killed, I was like, "Man, I don't have somebody else to lean on right now, and so God is who I was leaning on and still lean on today. I started reading my Bible from by myself for the first time for 18, up until I was 18 and a half. I wasn't reading my Bible by myself. I was letting my, pastor read it. I was going to church and my mom was reading the Bible and she was sharing this or sharing that. And she's like, hey, read the book of Proverbs, it's good for wisdom. And I'm like, yeah, I got you, Mom. But I wasn't doing it, right? And so finally, when my mom was killed, like I started reading the Bible by myself and growing in my faith that way. Um, I love seeing athletes that share their faith. There's a Seattle Seahawks linebacker who just made an amazing play this past weekend, who helped win the game for them. And during his post game speech, they gave him the game ball. And as he was talking, he said, "Man, this win means a lot, and this game ball means a lot. But like earlier this week, I kept feeling stuck." And he's like, I didn't know what it was. I couldn't shake it. And he got down on his knees and he started praying. And he said, he gave his life to the Lord. And just to see how God is impacting his play on the field was important. And so, as any believer, right, we have a great opportunity to share the gospel when we have microphones, right, in our face. And they're asking, how do we stay so calm? How do we have confidence when we shouldn't be? Or how do we live the life that we live? And it's a great way to show an example of who we try to live like. And so I think all those things are important, especially athletes that are believers. We have a great opportunity to share.
For sure. And I remember, I think, was it last year where the whole Ohio State football team, where they all got baptized, and it was just like so unheard of, like where a whole football team, you know, take the whole season, all of them got baptized, and then that same year they end up winning the national championship. It's
Yeah, how cool is that, right? How cool is that you have leaders that are strong in their faith enough to say, you know what, I'm gonna show everybody on my team that we need to get baptized if this is for you, right? And the whole team's like, bet we got you, we want to do it, and they came together, right? And so they became like family for real, and they ended up winning it all. And then you look at this season; they're still amazing. And so they set that culture. The culture is there of winning. The culture is there because a lot of times people say, "Well, if you're a Christian, you got to be soft. You got to do this. You got to do that." And it's like, no. You see some of these men in the Bible, man. They were the opposite of soft. You know what I'm saying?
hmm
They're ferocious. They're strong. And that's what I think men of God should be. And we're seeing that like with teams like Ohio State who are just saying, "Hey, I want everybody on our team," or even after the game when they'll pray for each other after the game, win or lose, right? And I think when you know who you play for and who gives you the ability and the strength to be able to not get hurt, or whatever it may be. Uh, you definitely want to glorify God and show that to other people.
For sure, because I will say, because you mentioned about baseball, I remember in college softball, I remember Oklahoma softball team. They they still have a huge run when it came to softball, but they were very, each person on the team, even the coach, was very vocal about their faith, especially in post conference games. So it's like, so it's almost as when an athlete has that platform to utilize their voice to, whether it's faith or whether they're passionate about, is something like very amazing, but also it's like this is well needed to hopefully see that, hopefully people that are watching actually sees that athletes are humans first. Like they are human first before anything. So
Yeah,
but
I agree. I was at this event recently, and he said like he had things crossed out like about athletes, and it said just human because we're human at the end of the day. We experience emotions like everybody else. We experience hardships like everybody else. We just happen to throw a ball a little bit faster. We can jump a little higher. We can shoot a little better, right? But at the end of the day, we're still people, and making sure people realize that, especially fans. One thing I get aggravated about is when I see fans just going crazy at an athlete, talking crazy to them, like talking about their relationship, talking about their deceased loved ones, like just crazy stuff.
Mhm.
And they saying this as if that person doesn't have feelings. Like he can hear you, she can hear you. Like why are you going crazy like that? Imagine I come to your job and start screaming at you, bringing up your past history, your traumas, right? And people forget that athletes are human beings. And so I made a pact because I heard everything when I was playing sports, and I made a pact with my son and my family that with my boys and my wife and my baby girl, like we're not going to talk crazy to the opposing team. Let's say my son is a huge fan of the Yankees because he likes Aaron Judge, right? If they're playing the Red Sox, we're not going to talk crazy to the Red Sox. We're not going to boo. We're going to cheer for our team because that's just being a decent human being and playing the sport. And people say disgusting, vile things. Like you hear that stuff, and I'll make sure that's not happening in my household.
Man, that what you just said is so perfectly because people don't like the things people don't understand that words have power, especially you never know what say an athlete is going through. Like they may be behind closed doors. Behind closed doors, you never know what's going on. But like, yes, they're performing every night for in front of millions of strangers and doing their best. But sometimes in ways you can see they may not be doing their best. Whether there's, they're in a slump of a, you know, but when people talk crazy, like you said, people talk crazy at players, and then all of a sudden, like, you messed up my parlay and all this. It's like, what? Like, like this, some of these athletes are fathers and mothers, sons and daughters, sisters and brothers to somebody. So you can't just say, because, like you said, like, what if, what if that was that person on the other side and they were receiving the same brunt that that person, like, is spewing? It's like you wouldn't feel good. No. So it's I think I feel like if people actually took the time to realize and remember that athletes are human first, instead of like having that mindset, oh well, they should have known what they signed up for. Like,
Yeah.
so, but my question, and this leads to my question is, so I definitely see you as an advocate of women's sports. So for what inspired you to advocate for women's sports?
Yeah, you just see how talented women are. So I'll give you an example. In high school, we had a basketball player. We had two: Alicia Welch, who played at South Carolina, who played in the WNBA, who was really good. We also had somebody named India Bryant, who played at UNC Chapel Hill. And when I tell you they were like really, really good, like playing against all the boys, just dominating, right? And so that gave me a early on respect for women playing in sports because they were really, really good. The skill level was unmatched. And you hear people, it's kind of saying stuff. Oh man, this team could beat a WNBA team, and it's like you have no idea how good these girls are, right? They're unbelievable. And so I just experienced it really young, seeing how talented people are, and I think that's what gave me a different perspective. Because until you get smoked playing with a girl, you're gonna be saying stuff until you realize how good they are, right? And I was lucky because I had two phenomenal athletes playing high school basketball on our team, won state championships. Like they were like the real deal. And that's kind of how I became an advocate. Asia Wilson, I did her podcast. She's always been, I've always supported her, even when she was in college doing her thing. Started playing professionally. She's always kind of, you know, showed love to me and my story because of my mom and just being from South Carolina. Uh, she's been an advocate for what happened to our families and our church, and so I've always been a supporter of hers. So she's probably my favorite woman athlete in the world, just because of that connection. Plus, she's a beast, right? She's one of the best ever, if you ask me. And so that kind of gave me like a behind the scenes look at that. And then I think I did a podcast maybe 2 years ago, and we got to talk. It was pretty cool.
For sure. Asia, she's a three-time champion and four-time MVP. So, you know, I don't know if you saw the one where she had her tambourine. That was when she had the tambourine, her tambourine, and at the after the game and the post conference. I was like, yep, that's when I was like, she is celebrating her best. But you're from South Carolina. What does it mean for you to be from South Carolina, especially with just both on and off the field?
Yeah, I feel like we've got amazing athletes that have come through South Carolina. We got NBA players, John Morant, Zion Williamson. We got amazing people playing all over the league in basketball, baseball, football. One of my high school teammates, Javon Kinlaw, is playing in the NFL right now for the Commanders. So we got just athletes everywhere. Um, and when you see people that are from where you're from that make it, it gives you pride in your school and your community. So I'm just grateful that those people they still look out for where they're from, and I have relationships with some of them. So that's why I enjoy being from here. Plus, the city in Charleston in particular has wrapped his arms around me. So I'm gonna continue to pour back into it.
For sure. And Charleston is actually like a nice place too. Like I haven't been to Charleston in so long, but I used to go like just for like softball purposes. Not for me, but for my sister. But I think and no, actually, it was for basketball because there was always the College of Charleston versus UNCW, and I went to
Hmm.
UNCW, and that rivalry was always crazy. So,
For
and
sure.
it it was just always like, and if both of I mean both cities were near the beach, so it's like, well, it's like who has the better beach? So it's like, oh, this is. But and also the CAA tournament was always there for basketball, so I was like, well, let me take that trip there just once, and that was it. But um, you know, and it leads to my question is when it comes to representation, especially having someone that looks up to you or you looking up to somebody, how important is representation?
Yeah, I think it's super important. In baseball, I had this guy Andrew McCutcheon who looked like me, played center field like me. He had swagger, and I wanted to be just like him. I just recently met his mom and told her the same thing, like I want to be just like your son, and I think that was cool. But in life too, right? I go speak at schools and I read my children's books, and they're saying, I'm like, hey, have you ever met an author before? They're like, no, and I'm like, well, you're looking at one right now, and their eyes just light up and we'll talk about playing sports because every kid in elementary school wants to be a professional athlete, and so we say, hey, what if you can be an author and a professional athlete just like me? And they're like, man, I didn't know I could do this and that. And so all these different things are cool. We see representation, and like I saw a TikTok recently where a doctor came in and he was a black doctor with dreads, and the kid was on the doctor's bed, and he's like, hey, everything's looking good, yada yada yada, and the dad was just like so impressed. He's like, man, you see what we got here, boy, right? We got a black doctor, man. It's just and you can see like the dad was just infatuated with that, and instilling in his son that, hey, this is an option for you. So representation matters, and people say, man, you could always look up to somebody that looks a little different, that believes a little different. You definitely can. Um, but there's something like when somebody looks like you, and that's why we love LeBron, right? LeBron, he came from a background that wasn't the easiest. He went through a lot, right, with his mom, single parent household, working her behind off. So like all those different things, representation matters because you say, man, I can be like this person, or I can be like this entrepreneur. So yeah, that's why it matters.
Absolutely. Like, man, I haven't heard Andrew McCutcheon in so long. Man, I haven't heard
Mhm.
that name in so long.
Yeah, he's solid, man. He's a great dude.
Man,
Still playing too. He's still playing.
and you got a chance to meet his mother too.
Yeah,
Wow,
down in Florida.
man. Because like I said, I haven't heard that name in so long, and I would hear about him a lot when he was playing for the Pirates. I think.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. I know base. I know a little bit just because I have family that are huge Red Sox fans. So it's like, and I used to be the only Yankees fan in front of all the Red Sox fans. So it's like, but then But then like when you grow, but after Jeter retired, I said, you know what, it's not the same. I can't show my age right now. But but so my question for you is, if there was a word or a phrase to describe your journey, what would it be?
First, a word or a phrase. I'd say consistently overcoming, right? And the reason why I use consistently overcoming is because no matter what I'm faced with, I've always overcome it. Whether it's immediately, whether it takes time, I just know that that's a gift that God has given me, that I'm going to continue to overcome whatever challenges, trials, and tribulations that I'm faced with in life. And so consistently overcoming is like a phrase I would use.
That's deep. That no, for real, that is deep. Consistently over. So you just so when you say that, like you find, so anytime like any type of adversity comes, you're just like, you know what, I know what I'm prepared for and everything, how to overcome it.
Yeah, it's just like this. I can't control what has already happened, right? So let's say flat tire or fender bender or whatever it may be. Hey, it's over with. It's done. What do I do next? Right?
Hmm.
How do I move forward? How do I grow from here? In our interview, something power flash because it's raining and storming outside. What do I do next? Right? Oh well, it flickered back on. Okay, we're good there. At least my light will work. Let me pull out my phone. Let's do the rest of my phone. Like you got to just adapt, right? So just adapt and overcome. And I think that's what that mindset has helped me for sure.
For sure. I will say, I was like, man, because I was like, what happened? And then I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna let any type of fear happen. I'm not gonna be nervous. But then I was like, oh, there it is. But I definitely see what you mean for sure. Because like a lot of things in life is so inevitable. It's like, but how are you able to react to it? How are you able to prepare to like, take on it? Because you know, you can let certain things, become fear. You can allow it's like you can let fear, take over, or you can let your faith take over and be like, hey, I'm a, you know, the smallest things it shouldn't allow, to be bigger than what it is. But it's how I think it's how you. I see what you mean. I that what you talk that example you gave. I was like that makes perfect sense. So I
Absolutely.
see. So I always ask my guests this question before the men. It's authentic. So bona fide means authentic and unique, but for the man, it's authenticity. Authenticity. I just stumbled. It's okay. This, like I said, I have bloopers like this. It happens. So this is so. But my question is to you is so what makes Chris Singleton authentic, and what makes your story stands out?
Yeah, I think what makes me authentic is I'm always open and honest. I might be too open to sometimes I share too much. But I don't pretend to be somebody that I'm not. Um, I think when people see that I'm genuine, even when I'm speaking on stage, like it's conversational. It's not me trying to pretend like I got 40 years of experience doing anything. No, I don't. I'm not even 40 years old, right? And so I think just being real and being honest is what helps people um, know that I'm true to who I am. Being a husband that loves his wife and is faithful to his wife and loves his kids and says he's going to coach him and does and doesn't, do things that doesn't betray his words. I feel like when I'm the person that I say I'm going to be, and I am that person, that's what people know that I'm authentic. And it starts at home. It starts with my family. And so if my wife ever says that I'm not doing a great job, then that means I'm probably failing everybody. And so that's why I think it starts at home with my wife and my kids. And that's what makes me who I am. My story is authentic because, I'm just a son who's trying to make his mom proud. And I share about my life. I share about this mission of love and unity because of her and my church family. It's not because I have this grand mission of this or being an expert in that. No, I just want to make my mom proud, and that's as authentic as it is.
Man, yeah, that's re- do you feel last question, of course, is because I can just tell, like, when it comes to family, is it plays a huge role in everything. Do you feel like family is the backbone of everything for you?
It definitely is. Because I realize, we think we have so long with the ones that we love, but you never know. And so, at 29, I'm 29, I'll be 30 in a couple months. Like at 29, my life would be halfway, more than halfway over if I only lived till 45 like my mom, or if I only lived till 48 like my dad. And so when I think about those numbers, I'm like, man, I want to make sure every single second counts with my boys, with my baby girl, with my wife, because we don't know how long we have. So family is super important, right? You ask your loved ones, hey, do you remember what you got for Christmas last year? And my son's like, no. But he remembers us spending time together. He remembers going on vacation together. He remembers me playing catch with him in the backyard, or his first time he was able to ride his bike out in front of the house. Like those things matter. And that's why I want to continue to be there for him and create those memories.
Man, and that's how you do it, man. Just like I said, big shout out to you, sir. You know, you're doing amazing, doing everything. You know, just continue to make a huge impact as you are doing, sir. And like I said, just wanted to give you the respect and flowers to you, and just like I said, just watching from your journey so far, and for the longest time, I just wanted to give you your respect and flowers to you, sir. So,
Thank you. I appreciate you.
of course, can you let the folks know how and where they can find you, follow you, if there's any upcoming events happening?
Yeah, you can go to chrissingleton.com. That's where all of my booking is. You can also go to, you just type in Chris Singleton any social media platform. You should be able to see me. It's a picture of me, probably with a microphone, I think. I don't remember what my avatar picture is, but yeah, social media is at C Singleton _2, and you'll find all my stuff there. Thank you.
Of course. Y'all be sure to follow Chris Singleton. Y'all heard him first. Be sure to follow Chris Singleton and get his book too. Be sure. Let the folks know what's the title of your book is and where they can find it, sir.
Yeah, yeah. So I've got all my books. I've written six, and you can go to chrissingleton.com. You can check out my books there, my booking there. I do coaching for speakers, everything. You can just go to chrissingleton.com.
Y'all heard him first. Be sure to follow Chris Singleton at chrissingleton.com. Follow his social media. And big shout out to Chris Singleton for coming on the podcast to share your story. Y'all could check out the live replay of Bonafide, her podcast, episode 189, featuring Chris Singleton. Thank you guys for tuning in. Peace.